Hey folks, welcome back. So in this video we talk about MySQL error 1553. So this happens when we try to delete an index which uses a foreign key. So let's try to reproduce that error. So in order to do that we need two tables. So currently we will be using those two tables, which is company and company address. So let's create those tables first. I have SQL queries to create the company table and company address. Let me quickly copy that. Um, so let's create the company table. No database selected, so we need to select the database first. So now we selected the database and let's run the create table query. So we can see that the table is already created. So if we refresh the tables, we can able to see the company is already created with the ID and name. Now create one more table, which is company address, which uses company as a foreign key. So I already have SQL for that as well. Let me copy that and paste it here. So this is that. Let's create it. So we can see that the statement executed successfully, which means the table created. So let's refresh the tables, and here we can see that we have two columns, which is ID and name in company, and for company address we can see that ID, company ID, line 1, line 2, city and postal code. So if we look at the indexes, currently we have index for primary key and address index. So let's inspect the table. Let's go to indexes. So here we can see that we have two indexes on the below columns. So ID, company ID and line 1. So we have a composite index which is which is address index, which contains two columns, company ID and line 1. So we just don't want this composite index on company ID and line 1. So now I just want to delete the index. So let's try to do that. Drop index. Index name is address index on table company address. So now let's try to delete it. So as expected, it throwed 1553 error. So let's copy the response and see what actually the error says. So it says error code 1553 cannot drop index and the index name, which is needed in a foreign key constraint. So whenever we create any foreign key, so it creates an index for quick lookups. It automatically creates if there is no index created for that specific foreign key column. So if we see for address, like company address, so we have a unique index which contains company ID and line 1. So we already created that index. So by default MySQL didn't create that index. So when we try to delete that index, as the foreign key company ID uses that index, so it's throwing an error. So in order to delete this index, which is a composite name index which uses company ID and line 1. So first we need to create an index for company ID, and then we can able to drop it, because index is required for quick lookups. So when we work with foreign keys, when we do queries, like, it is required, the design is like that. So it should have every foreign key should have a index for quick lookups. So in order to remove this index, we need to add one more index on this foreign key, so that we can able to delete this. So let's add the index for company ID. So let's create index okay, looks like the SQL statement is incorrect. Alt table company address, add index, and then index name, let's name it as company ID index, and column is company ID. Okay, so now let's run this statement. So execution is successful, and let's inspect it again. So under indexes, now we have three indexes. One is for ID and company ID, and line 1, and company ID just for a company ID. So now we can able to delete this address index, because we already have index on foreign key, which is company ID. So let's try to remove that. So alt which is actually not required. I think this should work. Drop index now. Let's try to execute this statement. So now we can see that we were able to delete that index. So let me re-inspect and confirm. So here when we go here, yeah, so now we can able to see that there is no index company index which contains company ID and line. So here this index we have removed it successfully after adding an index for the foreign key, which is this one. So this is how we can able to fix that error. So the error throws because the index currently is being used by a foreign key. So in order to remove that, we need to have other index added for that foreign key. Then only we can able to delete that. So that's it for this video. Thank you.